Instagram, it takes a little bit longer. So I just need to wait to get the cue from Instagram that we are good. And then I can click go live. Should be just a second or two. It's the only one of the platforms. Oh, there we go. We're good. It's the only one that has a little bit of a weird delay, which is fine, but it's just, there's always just go.
They censor us.
All right, here we go. Sure, everything's off. Okay. Yeah, our levels look good. Okay, everything's good.
Everything's good.
Okay, today on the show, our guest is Marianne Gillespie. She's a top real estate coach with Red Apple Coaching. Let me tell you more about Marianne. Now, Marianne Gillespie is the CEO of Red Apple Coaching and one of the top female business coaches in North America, specializing in real estate and leadership development. She's coached over 900 businesses to seven-figure success and helped over 230 real estate agents achieve their first million. Known for her no-nonsense approach, Marianne combines actionable strategies with a deep commitment to personal growth, drawing from her own inspiring journey of resilience and triumph. From building the #1 real estate office in North America to becoming a world champion Ironman athlete, she exemplifies what it means to thrive under pressure. Marianne's passion lies in empowering others to unlock their potential and achieve extraordinary success. I would like everybody to check out Marianne and Red Apple Coaching's website, which is redapplecoaching.ca. So .ca, she is in Toronto. And her Instagram, I want you to check out too, which is at Marianne.Gillespie. We will have a link to that in the show notes. Marianne is MARYANNE. So anyway, at Marianne.Gillespie for Instagram, link in the show notes to the website and her socials. Marianne, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to share some great tidbits before the holiday season. So let's get this rolling. I love it.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm definitely intimidated because Ironman athletes, that's just a whole nother level of physical fitness that I will likely not ever get to. So I really admire people who can do that. And I know because just the sheer amount of training it takes to do just that is almost its own job in and of itself. So I really applaud you for not only having your own business, your own coaching company, and oh, by the way, I do this like incredibly hard thing, physically. And I just had a friend who did the one is there one in Antarctica? Is that right? I think there is. Yeah. He did an Ironman down there.
Yeah.
So anyway.
It's crazy the stuff that we have. And it's really interesting. And the funny thing that I always like to share with people is that never say never.
That's true. You're right.
Because I'll tell you, I was 300 pounds and I used to be, 5 years ago.
Get out of here.
Oh yeah. 5 years ago, I was 300 pounds. Well, and I ended up just deciding, I was like, I think I just, everything's great in business and all of the above. And I was like, it's time to transform the physical aspect of life. And I was like, I woke up and I was like, that's it. I'm like, I'm going to start the journey. I hired 5 coaches, lost 150 pounds. And then within a few years, I became a championship world champ. So
that's amazing. And if those of you who are listening, you probably can't see Marianne, of course, if you're listening, you would not suspect that she was ever 300 pounds. So that is truly, my jaw dropped when you said that. That is truly remarkable. And again, not just losing the weight, because that's just one part of it, but then actually being so physically fit that you can do essentially just about the most difficult physical activity, challenges or competitions that we even have. So 100%. Amazing.
Thank you so much.
That is super inspiring. But you're right, because I tell people, look, I'm not a coach, but I will tell people, if you make 2025 the year of physical health, and you don't have to run, of course, Ironman, a lot of us just wouldn't have the time or the ability to do that, but do something for your physical health that you maybe didn't do this year. Because I only started exercising, really lifting weights. I have a trainer because it's the only way I'll do it. 4.5 years ago, I finally I guess I'm just going to have to pay to do this, because otherwise I'm just going to keep thinking I should do it. And I know if I paying somebody, I'm going to show up. And so I've been with my trainer now for almost 5 years. And again, it doesn't make me a hero, but you're right. It does. I never thought that even I would be able to do that. So, wow, they're truly inspiring. So I hope everyone who's everyone who's listening, by the way, everybody has improvements to make with their physical body. And the way that I say this is, or the way that I think about it is energy. Like, you want the energy, because somebody asked me, I was in a meeting with I'm in this other organization, and the I just work out 3 times a week. I don't really go that crazy. But he said, gosh, you're doing so much physically. Why do you do this? And I said, well, I don't care about how I look, as far as like muscles or whatever.
Yeah,
I said,
exactly.
I just need the energy to get through the day. Like, it's strictly
Right?
about energy. And I know what it's
Yeah.
like to not have that energy. And it makes everything so much harder.
It
Um,
really does. Yeah,
yeah.
you're 100% right. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even about like the physical aspect of it. I'm competitive, so I mean, there is no gray here. It's always like all in or all out,
Sure.
and so that's obvious. But at the end of the day, I'm like, no. I mean, it's not about. Yeah, I don't think that if you make it about the physical fitness, like yes, it's the energy, and it's like getting
Yeah.
those endorphins going, and
Yeah.
that's one of the most important things. I can imagine, like, I can tell the difference between a day of working where I started with a workout versus a day that I skipped a workout. Oh boy, it's like black and white. It's like two different colors.
100%. And again, for people listening who go, well, I don't have time to exercise. Okay, I get it. But at least get enough sleep. Like, at least do that. Or at least, prep your meals so that you're not making decisions when you're stressed about what you want to eat. Or sorry, you're stressed about work and then you have to eat. Because I know if you're like me, I don't trust myself to make good eating decisions most of the time. So I have to prep everything ahead of time because I know myself, and I will go straight to the candy and other things. But again, we can all
Ditto.
think about, make this next year, like, even if it's not, I need to run a marathon, maybe it's just, hey, I want to, start walking more and doing 10,000 steps a day or
100%.
whatever. Yeah. So, boy, I suspect, and again, I don't want to, we're talking about this a lot, but I suspect if everyone focused just a little bit more on their physical health, if you're not currently focused as much on it as you prefer to be, if you were able to find the motivation to do that, I bet it would transform your business just sort of by default of having more, good endorphins flowing through you, which would probably lead you to more energy, which would probably mean you could do more for your business. So this is
You
all kind of
can.
common sense. We all
It's
understand it,
common
but
sense, but it's also like it's the I have a very big philosophy about strong mind, strong body, and it's like some people think you have to crush goals with workouts, and I'm like, no, really, what it comes down to is like sometimes the ability to just get out of bed and get to the gym and do it and being consistent, that gives you a very strong mindset, because it's like you don't have to have the perfect body, or you don't have to have the perfect workout, and you don't have to have a competition like I do. You don't have to have all that. The win for a lot of people is saying, hey, like, I made it. I'm consistent. I am like, I'm getting there. And that gives you a strong mind because it's discipline. Discipline is what it
yeah,
takes to get to the gym, regardless of the performance that you have. It takes a lot of discipline when it's easier to sit on a couch. It's easier to grab a bag of chips. It's easier to do all that
sure.
stuff. So that is like, I don't care what you do at the gym. If you actually get your butt there, or if you
Yeah.
get out to do a walk every day and you're consistent and you're doing things like that, that gives you a very strong mindset because you're able to make a choice that is very tough to make regardless, because who has the time to do all these workouts and do physical fitness? But if you're making that, that's your discipline, and discipline will give you a very strong mindset in business. So it's great. It's like a win-win. It's kind of like that. There's a great YouTube video about, if the only thing I do today is like make my bed, then that's a win, right? So
By the way, that
but
is absolutely true. If that's
yeah,
all you can muster up in a day,
yeah,
hey, that's something. And
it's a win.
it's a win, and it's important to celebrate all the wins. It's funny. I was thinking about one of the things I like about one of the things that I dislike the most, but is the best for me about physical fitness, is especially with like weightlifting, is if I do it correctly, every time I do a particular set of whatever muscle I'm exercising, it's going to be the hardest thing I've ever done at that moment to that
Yep.
moment. That's pretty much how it works. And so and that stinks. Every time it stinks to do push-ups until you basically can't do another one. It's not fun. It doesn't feel good. Yet it does build resiliency, right? And
It
you
does.
all of a sudden, like you were saying, all of a sudden you're running an Ironman, and you're like, I bet I have, can do anything in my business now. If I can transform my body like that, I can transform anything. So it's really, really inspiring. Okay,
Yay.
let's
Okay.
talk about 2025, because it is the
Yes.
end of the year. This will come out before the new year, and I would love for our audience to just start to think about how to have a really great 2025. We know it's a tough time right now. It's just things are goofy. Customer trust is down a bit. Of course, rates are not exactly where they were, and they're probably never going to be. Listings aren't quite as prevalent as they were. People are locked into these 3% mortgages and aren't probably going anywhere for a while. And so there's just a lot of it's the doldrum, and it's the holidays where the holidays
100%.
are incredibly stressful. I know they're fun and exciting too, but we don't talk about how hard the holidays are enough, and they are. So I
They
want us
are.
to maybe this could be some really, hey, if you're having to deal with family right now because it's the holidays and you're like, ugh, which
Right?
by the way, totally normal. This might be a good, fun little exercise to get out of that and think about what we can do proactively so we
Oh,
can
yeah.
have a great 2025. So let's talk about it. What, as a coach, what are some of the trends that you're seeing right now with your clients?
Such a great question. I think you're going to see. If I was to measure up, okay, I always laugh about this. I remember, I'll never forget it. I look at the sequence of how everything's. I think COVID was the best thing that happened to the real estate industry. I really do. Not the best for the economy, but for our industry, I think it was really good. I was looking at, everybody in 2019, right before COVID hit. I remember I was in Egypt. I take a big trip every Christmas and New Year's. I'm on a camel. I'm in Egypt. I literally have I was celebrating New Year's on there, and it was 2020 New Year's Day, and I took a picture on a camel in front of the pyramids, and I was like, hashtag thanks so much 2019, let's crush 2020. Little did I know, like 30 days later, I was like, what? I was like, talk about a
We
terrible
all
time.
hibernated for a few years after
Yeah,
that.
I was
Yeah.
sitting there going, like, as a coach to realtors, I was like, you've got to be kidding. Like, this is not, they're shutting all markets down, like with a pandemic across the world. What a terrible job to have. And I was like, this is going to be hard. And so, what ended up happening though is that I thought, wow, like, had I known that, we thought 2020, COVID was going to be the hard years. Had I known, so 2023 was a recovery, but 2024 was harder than everything. So 2024 was probably, I would say, now that the year's almost over, I can actually say, you know what? We kept our clients in a tunnel. We didn't want them to really see anything outside of that tunnel. We're like, let's just stay focused on our
Smart.
targets, and like, let's not even know what other agents are doing. So we just fed them, positive, 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 kept them in a tunnel, and we saw production escalate like you've never seen before. So one of the things that we really worked on, which I think is like very impressive, is keeping them in that tunnel. But then I think the biggest trend that we're seeing, because of all these changes, is, you said it earlier, you said consumers trust is down. So you have to remember, trust is built by relationships, and so we are seeing a massive, and we've been preaching this for a good 6 months. Our studies and surveys and everything that we're seeing shows that the people that were succeeding, and we had 98% of our clients outperform this year than any of their previous years. So we're very proud of that. But what we did is we funneled into their heads relationships. If you
Yes.
have a transactional based business versus a relationship based business, you are definitely not going to succeed. You need to move away from being transactional based and move into being relationship based, which is AKA almost old school real estate, and stop hiding behind technology. Use it, but don't hide behind it. Don't hide behind AI to do all your heavy lifting. You've got to remember that there's human beings on the other side, and you need to connect with them. And that is a very, very, very challenging thing for a lot of people to understand. So you've got to build those relationship based business. And any of our clients who are focused on relationships and how they're building them, are you appreciating them? What are you doing over the holiday season to build relationships? How often are you picking up a phone and talking to people? You need to remember is that, when trust is low, relationships need to be even higher. You need
Yeah.
to build the trust, and that's got to happen, or your business will take a hit.
Well, let's talk about the benefits of building strong relationships, because of course we
Yeah.
could talk about how to do that. I do want to talk about that, but I want to make the case because I think people know that expression, not being transactional, being relational, deepening relationships. But let's talk about the actual benefits of why that's a good idea. And I don't mean to sound flippant, or I really
Yeah.
think it's important that we really drill about, like, why is that important? Not just because it feels good and it's cool and people like it, but what, let's talk about why. I believe in, if that you can demonstrate care to somebody, that you care about them as a human, and not just, of course, the business side of it, your business relationship with them, but also whatever other parts of their life they're willing to share with you. And if you're willing to deepen those relationships, what you'll find is that those people feel a connection. That connection is almost like a true bond, and it sort of comes back to you in all sorts of other ways. But tell me how you'd sort of think about relationships.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there's two things that you have to look at. As a business owner, if you're building, so I coach two of the top performers in the world, okay? And the first number one perform, and they're right underneath each other. So the number one performer is very transactional based. The number two performer is very relationship based.
Really interesting.
Oh yeah, very interesting. And they're neck and neck, but here's the biggest difference from a CEO perspective, and then I'll cover from a consumer perspective. From a CEO perspective, the relationship-based consumer, even though they're not selling quite as much, that CEO, they're not selling as much as the transactional based individual team. What happens is that their net profit is higher. So if you're building relationships, you get business easier. You don't
Yeah.
have to buy it. You don't have to pay for it. It comes easier. So your net profit is going to be stronger. Okay.
Right,
Very
because
important.
you're not having to pay for leads
Nope.
as much. You're not the transactional person is feeding leads, is getting
You
leads
have to buy
through.
them.
You have to buy your clients. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not spending enough time building relationships with your existing database. So therefore, you're seeing a gap, a very significant gap, and that's what's actually coming down the pipeline. Is that it's a very big gap between the two. So that's one thing that we see aggressively. And I always talk about that. And I'm like, so if you're a business owner and you're thinking of building a team or building a bigger team, or if you really are just a person who's like, how do I net more money? Build a business that's more relationship based, and you won't have to spend as much buying internet leads. I love internet leads like anybody else, but they're being sold 7 times before they actually land with a realtor that can sell them. So it's a multi-billion-dollar business that's built on you not building relationships. So that's kind of where that comes from. On the flip side, what you have to remember about building relationship-based business is that I think we assume in real estate that every single person is, and I'll tell you a story about this that'll back this point up clearly for every listener, is that what you see in real estate is that everybody thinks that buying a house and selling a house is fictitiously like the movies, like there's a happy reason or it's a happy story. In the economy, whether you're in Canada or the United States, the economy is so expensive and the cost of living is so expensive. But think of this: 1 in 3 people get divorced. You have over 35% of people sell their houses because they have a critical illness. That is a big one. An aging demographic that has nowhere to go, but they own their houses and they're losing mind share and all of the above, and their kids are forcing them to sell. So that's not a happy experience. The unemployment, there's over 2 million people unemployed that can't afford to pay for their house. So there is so many factors that are not pleasant of why people buy and sell houses. So here's the story: if you don't pick up a phone, if you don't call them, and you don't have a relationship with them, and you don't care, or you're oblivious and you're living in a dream world, and you have one message that hits everybody, and you send a mass email out and you're expecting your database, it's not going to work, because they're seeing your happy life on social media.
Right.
Social media is a highlight reel of happiness. So if you're going through a critical illness, and let's say you've been diagnosed and you're not going to live and you need to make arrangements, and then you come to my social media and everything is peaches and cream, and I'm not calling you, but everything looks great in my world, it's easier to go to a stranger than to try to be like, wow, Marianne's got this great life. Look at it, how perfect everything is. She doesn't pick up a phone and call us. This feels unnatural to call you and drop a bomb, then I'm dying. And I need to estate plan. That's not a natural thing to do. Or if you sold the house 2 years ago to a really happy couple with kids, and then something happened, let's say there's an affair or something, or maybe poor spending or something happened that they're getting a nasty divorce, they're not going to pick up a phone and call you. You were the realtor that knew them when they were happy, and you didn't call them for 2 years. They're not even going to, they're not going to. It's easier, again, to go somewhere else and not embarrassed. So I always relate back to my 300-pound story. So when I was 300 pounds, that's a physical change. You can see that I was 300 pounds. If you couldn't see it, then I would, then I would question your eyesight. And so at the end of the day, I was all over social media. You could see that I was 300 pounds. I wasn't always 300 pounds, so you could tell. And then all of a sudden, so I have these 2 personal trainers that are amazing on my social media account, and they knew me. And they never, ever, ever said a word. You'd see that I was 300 pounds. That is not healthy for me. And so then all of a sudden, I hire the trainers, I lose the weight, and I become an Ironman World Championship athlete. And they reached out to me both independently, and they sent me very scathing messages. They were like, "You're a terrible person. You're supposed to support small business owners, and you're terrible. And this is against everything that you believe, and you're phony." And so I said, both of them, I said, respectfully, can I just ask you 2 questions before we continue this banter? And they said, yeah. I said, first question, I said, did you see that I was 300 pounds? Like, did you actually physically ever see that? And both of them answered yes. I said, great. Second question, did you ever reach out to see if I needed help? Did you ever once reach out to me? And they're
Right.
like, no. Fair point then. Here's the thing. I'm like, I was embarrassed. I was humiliated. I was
Of
going through
course.
something that, why should I, if it's your
Of
job to build
course.
your business, your career could have been made by literally coming to me and doing that, but you chose not to. And I was embarrassed. And now you're giving me, hell
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
basically saying that. And I'm like, the relationships means when you see somebody who may need your help, then reach out to them. And they didn't. And the same thing applies to people who own houses. If you know the economy is tough for a majority of people and you know that not every situation is happy, don't assume that people are okay. Check in with them and just say, hey, I'm just checking in to see, is everything good? Do you have any questions? Can I help with anything? You don't have to buy or sell, but are you okay housing wise, and can I help you with anything?
Yeah, I mean,
That's what you need to do.
social media is great for knowing when the people in your life go on vacation, or
Right.
when they have great dinners, or their kids have recitals, and that's all legitimately fine and good, and
Yep.
you should
The
celebrate that
highlights.
stuff. Yeah, you should celebrate that stuff with your clients, and you should also realize nobody's posting their fights, with their significant other, nobody's posting the financial troubles they're having,
Nope.
or the fact that maybe they're going through a depression, or that
Right.
they're getting divorced. And so I was almost thinking, as you were talking, just with my marketing hat, and maybe this isn't a good idea, but 56%, and I think right now it's an unfortunate statistic, but I believe 56% of marriages currently in the US get divorced. People married get divorced. It's a
It's
crazy
huge.
high number. Yeah, it's huge. And if it was me and I was thinking about how I could differentiate myself on social media, and I know realtors like to do fun things like show themselves at the gym, and that's
Oh
all
yeah.
great. I appreciate that. I think that's super cool. It does let me know that you're disciplined and you care about
Sure.
whatever. There's lots of cool things you can do with that. And I think it would be cool too to say, most people who are married, more than half are going to get divorced, and we never talk about it. And I bet there's people on this feed watching this right now that are going through something, and and maybe you've even been there before. I've been through that, and so I would want to say, hey, if you're feeling like this, like, like, let's talk about it, or I
100%.
know people that you can talk to about this, or I have a great divorce attorney should you need that. And again, it's not about pitching and trying to get business, but just
No.
reaching out in that way. And of course, you'd want to do that personally too. But I love this idea of, sort of somebody talking about the hard parts of life on social media.
Isn't it like we talked about that, and I dropped it on a previous interview. I said I think that, to me, like, social media is great, but there's so many advantages, but the biggest disadvantage is the fact that I said there should be one day a week, or like the first Monday of
I
every
love
month.
that.
Yeah, just the
We
first
just talk
Monday of,
about our problems.
yeah, just it's called like Be Real Monday. It's the first Monday of every month where you're not allowed having filters, so nobody can use a filter. Not one appearance filter in existence. You cannot BS, and if you post anything, it needs to be 100% real. Like, you
Love it.
cannot post that everything's great and here's my filter. I want to see the real stuff on the first Monday of every month. I want to see, guess what? Woke up, kids puked everywhere, or this happened, or just got my bill, can't pay it. This is great. What am I going to do? No idea. I'll go to Starbucks. Like, I want to see real shit, right? I want to
Yeah,
see the,
me
like,
too.
show me what really is happening in your world. Don't put on the filter, wake up and be like, didn't want to get out of bed today, force myself out, or broke this, or just lost a client. Like, we need to actually see that it's like, guess what? Terrible day. Like, you know what? No, we don't need that negative feed every day. The world would be
Sure.
terrible. But I think at the end of the day, I think the reality is that there's some funny stuff in there. It's like, you know what?
Oh,
There's
sure.
some great stuff. Hey, got in my car to an appointment, and guess what? You know what? Spilled my coffee all over myself. Now look at me, and I'm not using a filter. This is great. Like, I just think that there's so many opportunities for us to also, because what you have to remember is if you always post the highlight reel and you're always posting the great stuff, then the number one thing that goes wrong is that the consumers, your clients, are Googling you, they're searching you, they're looking at you, they're doing all that stuff. So what ends up happening is that they don't feel comfortable. Like, I lost my mom when I was young, and one of the things is I was like, I think about that, and I'm like, if I never post, the tough stuff, then everybody's going to assume my life is perfect. So it's kind of like this catch 22. It's like
Yeah.
nobody has a perfect life, and we're all
M-
going through stuff. And
We
it's like, I always find when I speak to audiences, when I say to the room, I lead in with showing them my life story, and I'm like, you think everything's perfect, but I need you to see this. And the whole room just stops and goes, wow. And I'm like, yeah. I said, you think everybody's had a perfect life, but because we don't share the tough stuff, we're all going through something. And it's
Well,
really important to know that.
and we're all of us have one significant problem in our life
Yep.
right this very second.
Always.
Every
Always.
single person has something going on that they're probably not talking about other
Yep.
than with their closest friends or family, and maybe not even them. And so, you know what? I would love to see videos from realtors. And again, it's not about wanting to see somebody doing something that hurts or that's painful, but I would love to see somebody coming back from a listing presentation crying, going,
Right?
I did not
Yeah.
get that listing. It's really bumming me out. I'm having a
Yep.
horrible day. I'm gonna fight through it, but boy, this is a tough one for me, and I feel
Yep.
really sad about it. And that I would love that level of
Me
honesty,
too.
and I believe that we only connect to imperfection. I don't think we connect to perfection because we just don't like it's interesting to look at, I guess, but we don't connect with it. It's not like we understand, that's a real thing because we know our lives aren't that. So I think we connect more to the challenges that people are experiencing, and that's one thing that I would encourage our listeners to consider. Again, set boundaries, and you don't have to
Yeah.
share
There are
everything with
boundaries.
everybody. But this idea of you might okay, if you come back, if somebody were to post that, oh my God, I lost this listing. It was a big deal and I really wanted it. And now I'm worried about blah, 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 paying the bills or whatever. Um, and maybe you wouldn't say all that, but you could talk about the disappointment you're feeling. Everybody can relate to that because every single realtor has lost a listing from a listing presentation, and it's
Right?
bummed them out. And that's the kind of way I think that you can connect. And again, we're just talking social media, but let's talk about sort of
Yes.
because you talked about, and look, we are seeing trends. The newer generations are not, well, they are on social media, but they're not really, they're more absorbing content on
Yep.
places like TikTok and Instagram. They're not really communicating with each other as much. And so I what I'm interested in is, as you were saying, going back to the basics and going the one to one, picking up the phone, dropping something by, in person, just
Yep.
having coffee with somebody, those kind of things. First of all, how important do you think those kind of connections are for like 2025?
I think that the connections for 2025 are critical. We're suggesting that you pick up a phone and you call your database 4 times a year. So every quarter, circle through and make sure you reach everybody every quarter, even including for that generation that is very social. Because I hear it all the time from that generation. That's like, okay, my generation. That's what I hear. My generation only likes text messages. Okay, first of all, I'm going to call BS on that. I'm going to say BS. Okay, your generation doesn't just love text messages. Okay, they don't. They like to communicate with friends and other people via text messages. But if you really want to know the truth, who is going to tell you that they just got diagnosed with cancer on a text? Find me one person who's done that.
Right.
Find me one person that's texted somebody and the response has been, yeah, just found out partner is like this, that, and we're getting divorced. Like it doesn't, or lost my job. Like it doesn't happen.
Right.
Basic, very low level communication happens on text. So I would say for that generation, whether it's a social media generation, you can send a DM, and a DM is just as good to say, hey, I'm checking in on you. I want to just make sure everything's okay. Do you have any questions? That can work if your social profile is very good, and you're very communicative. That'll work. But I would say, pop-bys and other things, those are equally as good. But take it into 2025 and start doing, okay, in a time where the economy is tough, go to a movie theater, treat your database to a movie, find some sponsors, negotiate a very low movie rate, and invite them out to the movie and just take them out for the night and be like, hey, you guys matter to me. And you know what? I know financially things are a little tough right now, so we're having a movie night, and like do something like that. And that's just as good. But really diving in and caring about them and doing 4 calls a year will make your referral business go through the roof, and you'll see that increase tremendously. I just think that, as you head into 2025, having a very specific plan to say, if I went through a whole year, and a great thing to look at is right now, what have I done to celebrate the holiday season? With all the people that know me, have I done a massive email out to just record a video and say, hey, it's Marianne. I just want to say happy holidays. Whether you celebrate the holiday season or don't celebrate the holiday season, it is a time to reflect back, look at the year, look around you, be grateful for everything you do have. And I want to sincerely wish you the best. And yeah, I'm going to reach out to everybody in the new year, 101, and see if you guys need anything. And always feel free to come to me. If you're not even doing that, you don't have a relationship. So start really looking and saying, how often am I communicating without asking for anything back, with
Right.
nothing back? Am I just checking in? Am I seeing if you have questions? And, if the rates are dropping, which they should, if the rates are dropping, have we done a circle check into people? Have we seen if everybody's okay? Have we helped out in any capacity? And so you really have to, lean into that. And then equally also build those relationships significantly in 2025. So be conscious of what you're doing. I would say 55 touches a year to your database. That is my number. If you're hearing anything less than that, you have to remember that there's like 10,000 on a regular day. This is not Christmas, not competing with Santa, but on a regular day, there's 10,000 ads that are running across a person's face in their span of a day with digital communication. So don't mix yourself up with those. Stand out and don't be afraid to do 50 or more touches a year, with your database, whether it's emails or text or events or whatever the case is. Lean into how can I communicate with these guys 3 to 4 times a month with great content and great knowledge so that we look professional, but we're answering questions that they might have. And that's a big difference because you're competing with 10,000 advertisements a day. So if you're only
Right.
talking to them 2-3 times a year or even less than that, and you're not sending anything out, then you're not top of mind. So you're not going to get the business.
So let's get to 55. So let's just
Yeah,
get really specific because I'd love to give this formula too. So we know
sure.
they're going to get 4 calls a year. So there's the first 4.
Yep,
We know that if you have a newsletter or monthly, whatever that
sure.
you're emailing out. Okay, so there's another 12. Now we're at 18. We'll say 2 client events a year, and probably
Sure.
maybe you could do so. Now we're at 20. And now we could we could do on social media. Whenever they post something, hey, just got back from Cancun, amazing, that looked awesome. Let's chat about it. I'd love to
Sure.
hear how you're. Okay, so maybe you do that maybe 10 times a year. Now we're up to 30. How can we bridge that gap? What other things would you recommend to get us up to
I love
55?
that. Well, like I'll give you an example. So if you're looking at December, so let's say December, January, you got to think a little bit outside of the box, but think of information that's cool, kind of fun, kind of
Yeah,
interesting. So if your area that you live in, why don't you do a post at the end of December 31st? Look up what was the highest selling priced house in your entire city,
yeah,
into your entire area. What was it?
that's
Call
fun.
the agent and say to the agent, hey, listen, by the way, I don't know if you know, but you were registering as the highest selling listing at all in this area. I would love the opportunity. Would you mind if I send an email? I want to highlight that because that is incredible. First of all, every agent's going to say yes. Nobody's going to be like, no, don't promote me as that person. No, listen, I'm not worried about people using that person because they're not going to. What I want to do is I want to get my database, or I want to get excited. So I'm going to, go on social media. First thing I'm going to do, if I'm a social media person and my database is there, I'm going to put a post up and I'm going to say, guess the price of the highest selling listing in our city. That's the first thing. Get the engagement up, all of the above. But on the second note, I'm going to actually send out an email and say, hey, everybody, to my whole database. If I'm an email database for someone, I'm going to go, hey, everybody, just want to reach out. Here it is. Here is the 2024 highest selling MLS house in our city. Take a guess at this. Click on the link to see it, the video of it. And at the end of the video, I will tell you what the price is. And so do it and be like, hey, I just want to let you
Love
know and
that.
clip a video. That is a cool touch. It's just
Yes.
interesting. It shows that you
Yep.
know what's going on and it kind of is an engager. So it's good. So that's one thing. Then the other thing you want, and that's a January thing that we do, but we also do in January, every January, we instruct our clients, we say, do a worksheet. And a worksheet is really cool to send out to say, look, how many people are sitting in houses that have great equity, or maybe they want to do something? Are you sending out a worksheet to say, hey, if you're thinking of, doing something in your house, here's a great worksheet to work on. Fill out the blanks, and this is what your equity is going to be. And then here's 15 different things that you can do with your equity or whatever. Give a worksheet. You can run it through ChatGPT or Claude and just basically launch it through those systems and say, create me a worksheet that I can do, blah, blah, blah. Send it out and be like, this is really cool. We don't do enough of that. So that's another thing that you can actually be doing. And so it's about giving data
Yeah.
that's really cool. And then February, you have 1 month of data. Why don't you jump in on February and do something really cool and be like, hey, 30 days, 31 days into the year, here's my forecast on what we're seeing early in the game. There's great content. So it's
Yeah.
all about like really hyper local. So being very hyper local with your information, but also being very creative and saying, don't give them recipes because, like, if you send me a recipe and you're my dentist, I'm going to be like, what the F is this? Like, that is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in this industry. I'm like, why are
Right.
you?
Like we can all find our own recipes. It's like
I'm
it's
like,
not hard to find a recipe.
I got an email the other day from somebody and they're in a totally different industry and they're just like, here's our favorite Christmas drinks. And I was like, I was like, it's a little weird. I'm like, thank you for sending that. But like, that's just a weird email. I'm like, that
Yeah.
reinforced nothing. And
Right.
everything that you're doing should be about, are you giving hyper local? Nobody cares about anything else. That is a very big trend. Hyper local. They want to know what's going on. If you have a farm area, are you going door to door in the month of January? Did you do a year synopsis, 23 versus 24 for that, for your neighborhood that you farm? Go door to door, introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Marianne. This is my farm area. I have a great report that I've launched. It's digital, so I'm going door to door. It gives you a really good snapshot on 23 versus 24. Here's what it looks like. This report is gangbuster. It's amazing. I'd love to send you a copy. What's the best email address?
Love it. And I want to also go a little bit beyond. So
Yeah,
hyperlocal, I just had a thought and I'm curious to get
sure.
your opinion on it. I don't think it even stops with your physical local community. I think it goes all the way to the individual, because if you know in the people in your sphere, in your CRM, if you know when their birthdays are, if you know when their what their ages of their children are, if you know the birthdays of their children, if you know their wedding anniversary date, if you know that uh, whatever those kind of
Yeah.
life event stuff that happen every single year, you now have probably another 5 or 6 phone calls you get to make for no other reason than just be like, hey, I know it's your child's birthday today. Hope he's having a great one. Just was thinking about him, and have I hope you guys have a fun time. Like
You
if
nailed
that's
it.
all you did. Here's what I did. This is funny. I did this years ago. Just it occurred to me, and it has nothing to do with business. But I realized my friends. My memory is so terrible. I've been to a lot of weddings. I've been in weddings, of course, and I never remember like when someone's anniversary is. So finally, I sent a thing to my friends. I go, just write back, tell me your anniversary date, and then I have a thing
Yeah.
that it just pops up every time. Goes, hey, so and so's anniversary, and all I do is send a text because they don't probably need me to call, but I just go, hey, tell you and your wife, hope you're having a great anniversary, and they're like, you're the only person that does that, and it doesn't make me special. It was just an email I sent, and I put it in my calendar, and it's not that hard. And now I get to make them feel appreciated on a really special day, for them, assuming they're, who they're having a good anniversary. But the idea is that like those are things that people don't do that have nothing to do with real estate, but will do everything for that relationship.
You nailed it, and it's like it's the little details, and there's a great book. It's an old book, but it's a great one, and it's "Swim with the Sharks" or "Get Eaten Alive." I think is it's called. So
Yeah.
"Swim with the Shark, Get Eaten Alive." And I remember meeting the author of the book, and I remember just watching him present, and like just a genius. He's such a genius. But his whole concept of that book, although it's very old, but it's a great book, is the principle applies more now than it's ever applied, where it's like, look, swim with the sharks is all about what it means is, and he always taught this, and his name's Harvey McKay, and
Oh
he
yeah.
taught this like really brilliant networker. And he always has said the best people in sales are the ones who know their audience before their audience knows that they know them. And it's like,
Yep.
and if you can do the research, so if you have and it's so easy now, you're going on a listing appointment, for example, you're heading into that listing appointment or whatever the case is, and you're looking, you can do all this research, you can know everything about them. If you have a client, it is easier. I have a team that I coach that literally has an individual on the team. Their only job, they're a VA. Their only job is all team members flag their social media. This VA is designed that if you have them flagged, so if you're my client, I have you flagged, you're on my social media, any notification, I get notified, which is a lot during the day, but you decipher through it at the end of the day. And I look and I see, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, perfect, boom, 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 boom. And I go, oh, look, he's got an opportunity here, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, all of a sudden you show me that you took a vacation, you just had poutine in Montreal. Well, that VA, I will send that, and that VA will be like, perfect. And the VA will send it on my behalf, and they'll send you something. I'll be like, hey, you know what? Just saw that you had poutine in Montreal, my hometown. How did you love it? Was it amazing? Awesome. And whatever the case is, or a fact about poutine. Did you know poutine came from da, da, da? Like, we'll just have fun with it.
Yeah.
And if there's a special moment that you have, this VA is designed for to pick up, and the agent sends it and says, hey, listen, DJ Paris just ended up taking this fabulous trip to Bali and posted all these pictures. That VA will take one of your best shots, take it, print it, put it in something really cool, like a coaster, a mug, or whatever the case is, and we'll just send it as a gift. We'll be like, hey, you know what, we saw your pictures to Bali or whatever, and
Yeah.
just want to let you know this was our favorite, so we thought we'd just put it on a mug for you so you could look at it yourself every day. Dude,
I,
that goes like here.
Oh,
That's
that's
next
next level.
level.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. And I have been to Bali, believe it or not, and
I'm
it
so
is an
jealous.
amazing place for everyone who I went. Yeah, I went in the mid 2000s, and I tell it's just a long trip from the U.S., but it is absolutely worth it.
Even
Uh,
worse from Canada. So,
uh,
so I'm like, I
well,
like
well,
that you have to
I
pack the
wanted
days.
I,
Yeah.
I wanted to also share a way that another way that people don't utilize as much. And if you're a listener to our show, you've probably heard me say this before. We're always getting new listeners, so I'll share it again. And it's always good. Repetition, I think, is the mother of skill. LinkedIn is great for knowing things about somebody's professional development.
Amazing.
It will tell you when they get a promotion at work. It will tell you when they switch jobs. It will tell you their work anniversary. By the way, they don't even know their work anniversary. I know I don't. It's funny
Yep.
every year on whenever I don't even still don't know when my work anniversary is. I get about 50 messages now, and again. I get them on LinkedIn. I never read them because they're just little text messages or they're
Right.
instant messages or direct messages on LinkedIn. And I don't know these people. If I was the person wanting to congratulate me, my phone number is not hard to find. I would pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, I bet you didn't know it was your work anniversary. Anyway, congratulations on 14 years at blah blah blah." That's and it could be a text message too. But I'm saying these are like let technology help you with this because it can do a lot of that heavy lifting for you.
100%. 100%. So, no, I'm in full agreement with you on that one. Absolutely. Yeah.
So with your top teams, so you were saying one of the top producers is relational and the other one is more transactional, and they're just totally different business models and they have different profit margins and certainly different levels of stress. Probably,
Oh,
I
yeah.
would assume the transactional person is terrified about that lead source drying up.
Yeah, 100%. They're terrified about the lead source drying up, and that's the race that you get to the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So like that's exactly what happens is that you have this, it's not that, and again, more units are sold by that transactional based team. And it's not a bad thing. It's just sometimes you can build a business. You may have to take a pause in your business and just go, okay, you know what, this makes a lot of sense. Or if you're seeing your profit and loss statement is out of control, then you need to do something about that where you're like, what am I missing? Because usually if you're high transactional, you still like the good news is that team is going to be very conscious in 2025 flipping the noodle because they have the transactions. So even if you've built, okay, I don't want the listeners to feel like, oh boy, like I'm super transactional. Transactional doesn't mean you don't care. It does not mean that. Transactional means that you still care about the business, you still care about the clients, but you're so focused on turning more deals that you've missed the building a really good foundation with your current existing transactions. And you're kind of just going next, 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 and you're just like a machine. And you're still loving your clients, and you're still excellent at what you do, but you've missed the relationship. So you're missing a portion of the business, and that's affecting your bottom line. So I would say the good news about anybody who's listening, who's saying that's me, which is a lot of agents, is go back because it's not too late. I've worked with people that have come to me that have had 20 years of transactional businesses, and they come in and we're able to blow that all up, and we're able to just really just do it. And people don't care. See, what happens when you run a transactional business is everybody seems to think, they get worried. They're like, well, you know what? Nobody's referring me business, or what's happening. I said, what you're seeing is that when I go to a dentist and he works on my teeth. I love my dentist. He's amazing. And so he does my teeth, he works on them, but I don't hear from him. Like he doesn't call me up and he's like, hey, how's things going? Like he doesn't check in. How's your teeth? How's everything? When I need him, I'll call him. When, if he needs me for something, which he has for coaching, he calls me. Right. So it's 50-50, right? If I don't need him, I don't hear from him. He doesn't hear from me. There's only a call when I need. That's what transactional is that
Yep.
if they need you, so they're not thinking of you as a relationship realtor, which is okay, right? It's not a bad thing. They don't think you're terrible. It's just you did your job and now you don't talk to them. You send them an email here. You're still communicating. That's natural. So they're not looking at you like a beast or anything. They're looking at you going, well, you know what? Marianne didn't reach out to us. She doesn't really need us. So it's all good. There's no relationship there. So you have a chance always, if you're operating a transactional business, you actually have a beautiful chance to change that, rip off the band-aid, and just be honest and call people up in the new year and say, hey, guess what, Marianne, I just wanted to let you know I've operated a business where I've been so busy that I haven't actually paid attention to forming great relationships post-sale, and we're changing that in 2025. And we are going to do a much better job. So I'm going to send you a quick survey, and the survey is going to, ask you everything that I need to know. It's going to ask about birthdays, anniversaries, your favorite this, your favorite that. And our company and team, we're going to up it, and we're going to try to be more like Disney. It's not going to happen overnight, but we're going to do a really good job this year of trying to really pour into you guys, because what we realized is that, you know what, we want to do better and we know we can. So we're going to start now. And your database will be like, send me the information. Like, they don't care. They're going to love it. They're okay with it. If your dentist did that to you and said, hey, all we do is call you when we need to, clean your teeth or do something. And what we've decided is we could be giving you better information about taking care of your teeth. We could be doing a featured product every month with you. We could be doing a much better job of being proactive with you. And we're not. So you know what? We're going to do that. Like, I would love it if my dentist sent me something like, I was on Amazon Prime Day and I was trying to get a water pick for my teeth. And I was like, I gave up because I was like, there's like 20 of them. I don't know. What's this one mean? What's that? Which one should I get? I would love it if my dentist sent me out an email newsletter saying, hey, 2025, you know what? Or Amazon Prime Day. If you're looking for the best things to get on Prime, that would make my job as your dentist easier. Here's my top 3 choices. That would be a great email to get.
Awesome email. And I'll tell you, I'll give you an example of my dentist who did go the extra mile just recently. So
I'm jealous.
No. This is amazing. So I've been with him for like 15 years. He does something very interesting that most dentists don't. He does the entire cleaning himself. And I asked him, there is there's no tech. It is just him and his wife is also. They're both dentists, and they both do this. And I asked him once. I said, "Why do you do that?" He goes, "It's my job. Number one." He goes, "Number two, I make more money because I don't have to pay another person, and my clients really appreciate it because no one's ever done that for them before." And anyway, but that's not even the cool thing he did, because he's been doing that forever. I had to, I have a tooth that's cracked and I have to eventually get it extracted and then replaced. And anyway, so I haven't done that yet, but the challenge was, so I looked for a place here locally in
you haven't
the
done
local.
it? How much pain are you in?
No pain. Thankfully,
okay,
no pain.
I
no,
had the same thing happen and I had to get it out. I was like,
no. If I was in pain, I'd get it done immediately.
Okay, good.
This can kind of go wait for a while. But anyway, at the time I was single, and so I went and got a quote from a place here, and it was like insane. And he goes, don't pay that. He goes, I one of my friends who I went to dental school with, he's about an hour away. He'll do it for half the price. He's a buddy of mine. And I go, oh man, that's amazing. Thanks so much. So I saw him. So I didn't end up doing it yet, but I said to him the last time I saw him, I said, one of the challenges, because I was single at the time, I said, is that because they have to put me under, I have to have somebody drive me home, and it's an hour away. I go, I guess I could Uber it, but that's really expensive. Or I could call my parents to come up, from 3 hours away. And I go, yeah, I just have to figure out how to do that. He goes, I'll drive you. And I go, no. He goes, no, it'd be fun for me. He goes, I would love to drive you down there. He goes, I'll go shopping while they're putting you under. He goes, I don't care. And I was like, that's the most amazing thing a dentist has ever said to me. I will drive you 1 hour each way, and doesn't earn him $1. I'm going to him.
Crazy.
I'm going to him forever anyway. But again, that's a person who cares about relationships.
Yep. Extra mile, baby.
And can you imagine how many people locally I have told that story to here in Chicago with his name? And I don't know how many people have joined him or whatever, but I tell that story to everybody, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, that's incredible."
Great story.
So those are the things I guess you want to create with your clients. Is yes, of course we can't drive everyone 2 hours, but we could call them on their birthday.
We could call them on their birthday. So I'm like 100% behind you on that one.
All right.
I love it.
We have spent almost a full hour here with Marianne, and we're going to do this again because we're going to focus on relationships in 2025, which means
less on transactions.
How many hours a day should somebody be focusing on relationships? So if you were an agent right now and you were thinking about 20 and you had no business to do, how many hours a day would you be focusing on relationships on a given weekday?
That's a great question. I think what you have to remember is this, okay? You have to look at, I have a client who wanted to make $100,000 a month. And so he wants $1.2 million by the end of the year. And so we did really good this year and he hit his targets. But what he did is we worked his numbers out and we figured out that he wanted to work less than 40 hours a week. And he only wanted to work, he wanted 4 weeks off a year, all the above, and he wanted $100,000 a month. So what we figured out is his hourly wage was about $680 per hour. So what he committed to is he set the boundary. And so what we said is that the only way to earn that is he had to be spending his highest priority of time which is lead generation and priorities on booking the appointments and getting the deals, that had to be where he spends his time. So the truth is that you have to really look at what is your hourly wage. He spends about, I would say, spend 80%. If you're behind your goals and you don't have a lot of clients, 80% of your 40-hour work week should be spent on the highest producing quality things, not marketing. It would be, how do I find clients, relationship based, calling, visiting, asking for the business. If you're on track with your goals and you're kind of like, you've got a lot of clients leading into the new year, so around 10 clients, 11 clients ready to go for the new year, then you're only going to be spending, I say 20 hours a week just maintaining and finding new ones and replenishing. And then if you're way ahead and you're like, I got 20 clients, I'm like slammed with it, then you're in maintenance at about 7 hours. So it's really depending on where your business is. If you're lacking the clients, 80% of your 40-hour work week needs to go into lead generation, which is relationship based right now, and just dive in. So you need to be having a significant amount of time spent on the highest priority of returns.
Love it. Love it. Marianne, thank you so much. On
Yeah,
behalf of
you're
our
so
audience,
welcome.
thank you. This was an amazing hour. We're going to do this again
We
because
have to.
there's
So
so much more
much.
to talk about. I want everybody to go visit Marianne, redapplecoaching.ca. Link to that in the show notes. Also, follow her on Instagram at marianne.gillespie. Link to that in the show notes. And please, on behalf of Marianne and myself, we want to thank the audience as
Thank
well.
you so
So
much.
thank you for all of our listeners having an amazing 2024. This was our biggest year as well. So we're super thrilled to continue to provide you this content. We asked just one thing that would help us continue to grow, which is tell a friend. Think of one other realtor that could benefit from hearing this great conversation with Marianne. There is so much good content here. Send them a link to the show. We appreciate it. We're everywhere podcasts are served. You can find us. And also our website's keepingitrealpod.com. You can stream everything there too. But Marianne, you're amazing. I will see
So are
you.
you. I love it.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk again for sure.
We will talk again, and we will see and listen. Everyone, we will hear us on our next episode, which we'll be doing even more in 2025. So stay tuned. Marianne, thank you so much. We will
Thank
see
you so
everybody next time.
much. We love it. Thank you for having